Well, with me is Dr. Ian Phillips from the University of Birmingham, who is over here for the memorial service on Friday. But Ian, have written what is one of the definitive accounts, I believe, of the Summerland tragedy. It's available online as well for people to read. Yet you weren't even born when this happened, so why are you involved?
My mother read me an account of the fire when I was only 10 years old, and what particularly interested me was that Summerland was a new building built out of new materials. And if the disaster had not happened, Summerland might have been replicated, albeit to a slightly different design on the mainland. It was the fact that Summerland was so innovative architecturally that makes the disaster an important topic. And still today it remains the second worst loss of life from fire in the British Isles since the Second World War.
And yet it's taken all this time for them to put up this memorial that is now being unveiled on Friday.
Yes, I think that the 1998 memorial made one fatal mistake. It used the vague words "in memory of all those who lost their lives" instead of stating that 50 people died. I believe that the new memorial is a vast improvement on the 1998 one. It provides a more fitting tribute to all those that died, and it also is important because it sets the historical record straight.
I mean, for a long time, the numbers were sometimes 49, sometimes 50. There seems to be quite a blanket on the whole thing. If a tragedy like this happened today, it would get much more exposure, much more investigations into it, don't you think, as well?
Summerland, compared to other British fire disasters, receives much less attention. Even if you look in history books, all those books mention the deaths of 31 people in the King's Cross fire in London in 1987, but many of those books omit the Summerland disaster. Yet 50 people died at Summerland compared to 31 at King's Cross.
Why do you think it has got that lower place in the history of tragedies then? What's done it?
Summerland received a lot of media attention at the time, but then the media coverage particularly faded. There has never been a television documentary, to my knowledge, about the Summerland disaster. And last year a documentary maker wanted to do a programme for the BBC, but it was turned down. He was told Summerland is not another Hillsborough.
I suppose also there's not a lot of actual video in those days to be cine. I mean, it's all on YouTube now, most of it.
Yes.
But I mean, if that was being filmed today, obviously there'd be much more account of it, don't you think?
Yes, there is less media, there is less film footage of the Summerland disaster, Summerland fire. Perhaps if it had happened in London or a major city, the film crews would have been there much more quickly.
Now, overall, there was no particular blame laid anywhere, but in your book, did you come to the same conclusions?
In my book, I tried to remain objective, but I've had a lot of contact with John Webb. John Webb was from the Fire Research Station team, and he came over to the island in the week after the fire to investigate the causes. And he told me the architects made a dog's dinner of the whole place, and the report into the disaster should have been a lot tougher.
And in your view, who should have got the blame then?
I would say the architects have the largest proportion of the blame, and then the Isle of Man authorities, such as Douglas Corporation, particularly for relaxing a bylaw. If they had followed their own building bylaws, the disaster would never have happened. And also Trust House Forte were to blame. Trust House Forte were the UK leisure company that ran Summerland. They failed to train their staff for emergency situations.
And lessons learnt?
I would say always obey your building bylaws, because if they had obeyed their building bylaws, the disaster would not have happened. Also, when Summerland was being designed, they were unsure about how the space inside the building was going to be used. When planning a building, it's important to know the use of inside of the building before you can decide on the design and the staircases and how they had been located. And too many changes had been made to the design of Summerland that did not appear in the original plans. And it is alarming that when Summerland opened in 1971, it had not been subjected to a building inspection.
And Today, now with what's left of the aquadrome part of it, they're still making their debates about what to do with the site. Have you got any views on it?
I have no objections to a small garden in memory of all those who lost their lives, but I believe that it would be unrealistic for the whole site to be devoted to a garden. I think it is inevitable that it will be redeveloped. I don't think it's a very suitable site for houses, and I think a leisure or entertainment complex would be the best option.